Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of our NASCAR chats here with on the WTP Sports Dudes channels. We are going to take a quick look back at the race out in Las Vegas this past weekend for the O'Reilly Series and the Cup Series. And then we're going to do a pretty good look ahead to the race weekend coming up at one of the most iconic tracks on the NASCAR circuit. So this little stretch coming up is going to be pretty interesting for fans of NASCAR. But other than that, we look back at last week real quick. If you watched the preview for last week, I had mentioned that in the O'Reilly series, you had people like dropping down to race from the Cup series. And to keep an eye on those because they're always, obviously they're really good. Well, of course, as it turned out, Kyle Larson beat Christopher Bell in that race. And the top finisher of the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, one who's a full-time driver in the series, was Sheldon Creed, who I had said keep an eye on his teammate, Sam Mayer, because Sam Mayer won the pole and looked really good. But unfortunately, as I've mentioned before, taking what I say, anything involved in motorsports is kind of a toss-up because about earlier in the race, I don't remember the exact lap, but very early in the race, Sam Mayer had an engine expire and was out of the race. So you go from first place to last place really, really fast. The other names I mentioned, Justin Allgaier came in fourth. Jesse Love is another one, sixth. Carson Kvapil, they're pretty much your standards. Austin Hill, who's always a really good driver in this series. So all in all, it's a pretty good race. But again, when you get the drop downs from the Cup Series guys, they normally take center stage in these races. Flipping over to Sunday's race with the Cup Series, I had mentioned that you had Toyota's dominating this track. And with Toyotas and Chevys, they just have some sort of grip on this track. I don't know exactly how to explain it other than they handle the bumps a lot better than the Fords do. And I know that's crazy, but to think about bumps on a racetrack, but there are bumps, and you can see it if you watch the in-car cameras. You'll see the car shaking around going over the bumps at 170 miles an hour, which is just insane. But I don't even like hitting a pothole at 35. But it played out pretty much as expected. The Toyotas dominated the Gibbs cars, and even the Chevrolet had some runs up there with Larson and all them running up front. Ford had a stretch there where they were, I don't know, I guess they were in place like 6th through 11th. They had all those, and I thought, okay, well, maybe they figured something out. And then here came the Toyotas again. So I don't know how to explain Toyota's dominance out there on these 1.5-mile tracks. But your race winner was Denny Hamlin. Kind of upset me a little bit. Not a huge Denny Hamlin fan. Still pulling for the guy, especially after all he went through. If you watch my Be NASCAR for Beginners series, you'll hear the story where his parents' house caught fire over the fall or over the winter, and he lost his dad, and the way he lost the championship last year. So he's kind of got a soft spot, and a lot of people don't like Denny Hamlin, but he's kind of cutting the edge has been taken off as much. So he got the win. Like I said, kind of upset me because now he moved into 10th place all time in the NASCAR standings of wins, passing my former driver, Kevin Harvick. Hamlin has 61 wins. Harvick had 60. Is what it is. I mean, that's a who's who at the top of that list. You're talking, the kings of the sport, Petty's, Earnhardt's, Gordon's, Johnson's. You're talking all these, the superstars that have built this sport from its inception are on that list. Second place was Chase Elliott, which is always a fan favorite. He's been the most popular driver I want to say maybe 7 years in a row, but it feels like it's been about 75 years in a row. Just, I don't know. He just, I mean, a lot of it's because of, I mean, he got a lot of his fans through his dad who used to race, Bill Elliott, but, you know, Chase is a good driver too. So he makes his own. But here you go with William Byron third, and then you hit Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs. The highest finishing Ford was in 6th place with Chris Buescher. Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, and Brad Keselowski was the next Ford with 10. So RFK Racing kind of carried the flag for Ford. All 3 of their cars finished in the top 11. Ryan Preece was 11th. But you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Toyotas in the top 10 and 3 Chevrolets and 2 Fords. So again, Toyota just has some sort of stranglehold on this track. I will say Ryan Blaney looked really good early, and then just something just wasn't right. My driver, we're not going to mention that. We'll just move on here. He did not have a good day at all. See, we got a person over here in the chat here. Let's see here. Lawrence Whitmore. I appreciate it very much. I try to make it a good show. I know that NASCAR is more of a, you know, southernish type sport where a lot of its fan base is from. There is some big Ohio fans. I do know that. I listen to NASCAR radio on Sirius XM, and there's a lot of people that call into that show from Ohio. But it's a sport I love, and I'm just trying to bring it to more people and get more people a little knowledgeable of it. So I do appreciate the support with you tuning in and watching for sure. But with that, we're going to jump into this weekend's preview. We have all 3 series are racing this weekend. Truck series has been off for the past couple weeks. So we'll kind of go a run through of what the truck series has got coming this weekend. We've got, where did it go? Here it is. Let's see. Well, if my weekend schedule would work, this would be a lot better. There we go. Look at that. Love technology. Gotta love it. On Friday, we're going to crank up with your truck series practice at 3:30 p.m. on FS2. At 4:35, they'll do qualifying also on FS2. Then on 7:30 p.m., probably a rough time slot for the truck series going up against the opening rounds of the March Madness tournament. But nonetheless, I can promise I'll be tuned in, at least flipping back and forth. The trucks put on a really good race at Darlington. That's going to be on FS1 at 7:30 p.m. We'll jump over to Saturday. And Saturday, we crank off pretty early. We crank off all these times are Eastern time also. We crank up at noon Eastern with practice on the CW app for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. At 1:05, right around there, they'll crank off qualifying also on the CW app. If you have the NASCAR or go to NASCAR.com or have the mobile app, they also do press passes throughout the day where they'll randomly have drivers on, whether qualifying or, you know, before qualifying, after qualifying, before the race, after the race. Excuse me. They'll have them on too, giving a little insight. Now, it's hit or miss who there's going to be on. It's not going to be every driver. So if you have a favorite driver, they may or they may not be on. So after that, we take a little break. And then at 2:30, you have the Cup Series. The big boys hit the track for practice at 2:30, and that's on Prime. And then at 3:40, they go for their qualifying session, which is also on Prime. Then you have another press pass after that. Then at 5:30 p.m., the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series takes center stage with their Sport Clip haircuts, VFW Help a Hero 200. Boy, that's a title sponsor to say. Man, I need a drink after that one. That's going to be on the CW network. And just to mention, because I mentioned that one, I don't want to leave anybody out. The Craftsman Truck Series is racing in the Buckle Up, South Carolina 200. So we want to give them their props too. These are people that sponsor these races and make it possible for race people like me to go. Without sponsors, these races, they don't happen as much. The Cup Series then takes center stage on Sunday at 3 p.m. in the Goodyear 400. The Cup Series keeps their names pretty short. I guess that's because, just they get the bigger name brands that people know of. So, but the Goodyear 400 is going on at 3 p.m. on Fox FS1. I still need to figure out what Fox One is. I'm guessing that might be their mobile app, their streaming app. Maybe they're creating a streaming app. But FS1 is the race, and then if you have HBO Max, you can also watch the in-car cameras on HBO Max, which is a pretty neat thing to watch at Darlington. Darlington will freak you out a little bit. We'll get into that here in a second. I'm gonna come back on Saturday, probably right before the O'Reilly Series race, in between the Cup race and the O'Reilly race, to do a preview of those two. The Truck Series is because it's Friday, it's going to be rough for me to try to get a preview in for it. But when you're looking at the Truck Series, right now you've got to watch, believe it or not, even though there's, there's quite a few of them. I thought there was less than that, but you've got to watch the Fords right now. They just seem to be strong in the Truck Series. In your point standings, you got Chandler Smith, Ben Rhodes, my driver favorite, Ty Majeski, Lane Riggs. Lane Riggs is just a guy. He just drives. He's super talented. It's kind of crazy to see a Chevy truck so far down in 7th, and I know that sounds weird being in 7th, but that's pretty low for Chevrolet in the truck series. It was still early in the season too, mind you. It's only 3 races, but you got the 3 Fords sitting right there on top. Smith, Rhodes, and Majeski, which are my 3 favorites in this race. Lane Riggs is probably another, and yeah, he's in a Ford. Gio Ruggiero is having a really good season in the number 17 Toyota. Caden Honeycutt's another good one to watch. Stuart Friesen, everybody needs to root for Stuart Friesen. If you go back and look up Stuart Friesen wreck from last year, you'll understand why. This man he came back from that wreck, and it was in it wasn't in the NASCAR series. It was in another series he was racing. But that wreck was brutal. Flipping over the wall. It was bad. But race car drivers just seem to have a short memory, and he just jumped right back in the car as soon as he was cleared. So you got to watch him. We got a fan favorite down here on number 11th place in the standings right now. Brendan Queen. Everybody likes him. Butterbean. That's what his nickname is. So, but definitely keep an eye on the Truck Series. These are some of the younger up and coming. I say younger. Some of them are older that are just in the Truck Series and they like it there. Excuse me, like Ben Rhodes, Ty Majeski. They're a little bit older for the Truck Series. But you've got some, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids racing out here that are super talented, or else they wouldn't be at this level. So we're not going to, like I said, get into the preview too much for the Cup and O'Reilly Auto Parts because I don't like to do that too much to qualifying. The Truck Series, it's just hard because qualifying happens normally on Fridays in the middle of the day. And then the race is right after. So, by the time you get home from work and do all that, then, everything's already set and the race is about to start. So it's kind of what I'm looking at for the Truck Series. We will go jump over here to the Fan Rewards app that I like to mention. Just, where you can get your free merchandise, free tickets, things like that. You'll see I'm at 1,734. If we go to the fantasy team, let's go see how bad. I haven't even looked at this yet this week. Let's see how bad I was last week. Let's see. Last week, well, that didn't work. Let's go back a week. It already wants me to set my lineup for this week. And I was like, dude, I haven't even seen qualifying yet. I'm not doing that. So I had a pretty good week last week, actually. This is my garage who I didn't sub in, and he had 19 points, but everybody else was above him. So I had a pretty good week, 33, 55, 32. Well, total points. I'm sorry, I was looking at place points. 51, 70, 39, 49, and 23. That's a pretty good week. I only got 2 of these right. I knew I'd get this one right. You can see why I don't mention my driver. Got these 2 right, though. So, that's 10 points for setting the lineup and 10 and 10. So 30 points right there just for 5, a few seconds of my time. Let's go back to the fantasy. Let's go see what my 36 for 36 streak is doing real quick. I got 20 points last week. I'll take that. Didn't do so good the week before, you see. So, when today's always a fun one for me for my fan rewards. They do the Powerball. It's not like a ticket for the Powerball. Don't get excited. Because if I win the Powerball, y'all are going to be really annoyed with me. But you just come down here and you click this in your app through your fan rewards on your phone, and won't let me because I've already done it. But you click the little thing, and these little balls start rolling around the track, and then it pops up with how many points you got. Normally it's 10. But one thing is certain states do the Powerball. Ohio is not included in this, and it annoys me. But you can get a entry into a drawing and be selected, and when the playoff. Well, last year was when the playoff. I don't know how they're going to do it this year. I'll have to look into this. But last year when the playoffs happened, people had like drivers or whatever, and they advanced through rounds, and then the last 4 were taken to Phoenix for a full VIP experience, and then they have their ping pong balls and they draw a number out, and 1, 2, 3, or 4, that person wins $1 million. So it just bums me that Ohio doesn't do it. So let's look at Darlington for a minute. And I had mentioned this is a good little stretch for NASCAR fans. We've left the West Coast for a while. We'll go back later this summer when we go race at the street course in San Diego at the Naval Base. And then we go up to Sonoma and up there for a road course race. That'll be the last time we go to the West Coast this year. Well, until we go back to Vegas and Phoenix in the fall. But that's here nor there. That's just 2 tracks we've already been to. But now we're hitting the East Coast swing where we've got Darlington this week, Martinsville, Virginia next week, and you'll definitely want to be tuned in for that. I will be next week's race previews probably will be really, really sporadic because I will be traveling to Charlotte, North Carolina at the end of next week, and then up to Martinsville, Virginia for the race. So won't be doing probably a lot of posting. I may jump on here or there, but going to be recording a lot of content for platforms and things that I'm running here. Some of it will be one I'm doing a ride along in Charlotte on the track. Some of that will be filmed, the stuff like that. Some of the stuff we do behind the scenes at the Martinsville race, that's going to be posted to a Patreon account that I'm running, SEC Sean. You can find me on Patreon. But all that's going to be paid memberships. Look, I'm not one to break the bank. I'm not asking for $20 a month from people. There's a membership out there for $1. I think to get the video access, I think I have it set at the $2 or $2.99 membership. But that's just something that, I'm doing a lot of behind the scenes legwork, and that's going to be exclusive content over there. I'll probably wind up setting it open for anybody that's a paid member. I can adjust the level myself, so I may wind up doing that too. A lot of that stuff will not be posted on YouTube, but there will be some stuff on YouTube on my channel. But we go from there, Darlington, Martinsville, and then we shoot over to Bristol, which I'm sorry, if you're debating on going to a NASCAR race, do yourself a favor. If you have the means and you're close enough or whatever, go to Bristol, Tennessee for a race. You will not be disappointed. I promise you that much. If you're not wanting to travel quite that far, which I think Bristol's like 6.5 hours away from here. But if you're wanting to travel, not wanting to travel that far, and I'm in the Columbus, Ohio area right now, so Brooklyn, Michigan is only like 2 hours away. And it's a really fun event there too. So you've got options. I mean, Indianapolis is coming up in a few months, and that's the 3 hours. Kansas, St. Louis. I mean, there's tracks within 8 to 10 hours. Probably 8 hours. There's probably a good 4 or 5 tracks that you could reach from the Columbus area. So they're definitely out there. And again, I mean, if you're using the Fan Rewards app and you can get free tickets, why not take them? So this is going to be fun. This is the short track stretch right now that we're going to run into. Bristol is a half-mile track. Martinsville, I want to say Martinsville is an exact mile long, and Darlington is 1.3 miles. So I think this is the longest of the the next 3 tracks. It's crazy to think it's the longest track, and it's 1.3 miles. So Darlington Raceway is one of my favorites, and it's one of the favorites amongst fans, where you have what they call the Lady in Black is what they call Darlington. Where it got that nickname, I don't know that anybody is really 100% sure, but it's also known for the Darlington stripe, which if you watch the races and go back and you can watch previous races, you'll see why it's called the Darlington stripe, because drivers run about 2 inches off the wall. And when sometimes the cars get a little loose, and then the back end of the car smacks the wall, and it gets a nice little stripe down. It doesn't really hurt the car too much, but some drivers consider it a badge of honor. If you don't have a Darlington stripe, you probably weren't in contention to win the race. So that's one of the little things. So I mentioned it's 1.3 miles. When you go into the turns, it's 25-degree banking. Hard to describe that on the phone, but you're looking, I don't know, somewhere around, this is 90. That's about 45. So somewhere in that range would be, that's in the first 2 corners, 1 and 2. Down at the other end of the track in 3 and 4, they're different, and they're 23 degrees. Doesn't sound like much, but you'd be surprised how much that affects the car. It's also known, turns 1 and 2 are wide. Okay, so Darlington is an egg. Think of it that way. It's an egg. It's just a flat, there's no other way to describe it. It literally looks like an egg. So the first turns 1 and 2 are wide. Turns 3 and 4 are much narrower. And everybody's like, why? Most tracks are symmetrical. Well, the story behind it is when they were building the track, the owner of the track saw all the construction equipment and machinery moving in. He was very concerned because he had a pond out behind the corner out there that he really liked to fish in. And he told them, I don't know about all this. I don't want my pond messed up. That's my fishing spot. And they said, Okay, so they just cut it down shorter so it wouldn't affect his pond. You think about that nowadays. Somebody coming to build something, and you're like, well, I don't want my pond messed up, and they're going to look at you and go, we'll pay you for your pond. You can find a different spot to fish, but this man was adamant, and they said, okay. And so that's why this track is shaped like an egg, because he did not want to lose his fishing spot. I mean, if this sport is not backwoods country as it gets, made from moonshiners, how it started, building racetracks based on fishing spots, I don't know what else is. There's stories of drivers going out back in the day too, real quick, about them going out after practicing or after qualifying and hunting and coming back across to jump in the car for the race with pockets full of squirrels. So, but it's still a great thing. Your all-time winners here: David Pearson, 10 wins; Dale Earnhardt Sr., 9. And then it drops dramatically. Gordon, 3; Harvick, 3; Denny Hamlin, 3; Jimmy Johnson, 3; and then Harry Gant, who was just inducted into the Hall of Fame, 2. Hamlin won last year. But, well, actually, Chase Briscoe won the fall race here. Denny won the spring race. This race right here, Denny won last year. And then Briscoe won the fall race the previous year. Again, so Chase Briscoe has won the 2 previous fall races. One in a Ford, one in a Toyota. It's hard to pick against Denny Hamlin on this track. He's been so good at this track. I think 3 of Harvick's wins, I had mentioned Harvick and Hamlin both have 3 wins. Back in 2020, the COVID year, NASCAR was racing all over the place, and they were racing, midweek races. They were trying to catch the schedule up, and they raced 3 times at Darlington that year, and wound up being Harvick, Hamlin, Harvick, which that year I think Harvick won 9 races and Hamlin won 8. They just dominated every weekend. It was one or the other, and there were some races where they would race 2 races on a weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday, and they did it in Michigan, for example, and Pocono. And like in Pocono, Hamlin would win Saturday and Harvick would win Sunday, or vice versa. In Michigan, it was, Harvick won Saturday, dominated. And then Sunday, Hamlin was leading and then blew a tire, and then Harvick wound up winning. It was just some weird circumstance that week, that year. Well, that whole year was a whole weird circumstance. Different subject, though. But it's going to be interesting. Watch your Toyotas again here. The Fords do pretty well at Darlington. I will say that. But just realize that if you're watching a certain car and he's not up near the wall, he's probably not in a real good car. That's the preferred line, is right next to the wall. Crazy, unique racetrack, fun racetrack. This is going to be really exciting to me, because we're bringing the same tire. It's the same tire they had last year here, but they've increased the horsepower from 670 to 750 on this style track. So you got a tire that's a little softer, you've got more horsepower, and you have a track that chews tires apart. It's just like a cheese grater on these tires. Anytime there's a chance you're coming to get 4 fresh tires on that car, the fall off will be drastic. By fall off, if you're doing 100 miles an hour on a fresh set of tires, you might turn around and do 95 after 2 laps, and that's as fast as you can go because you're losing grip. So the fall off can be pretty substantial. Of course, it's not measured in miles per hour; it's measured in time. So normally you'll hear them say, "Well, the fall off after 20 laps is 3 seconds." Well, if you're running 3 seconds slower than you were, and somebody comes and gets tires, they're 3 seconds faster. in 3 seconds on a track where you're making laps in roughly, I don't know, 35 seconds, 6 laps, and they're on you. So pretty interesting, pretty neat. We're going to watch and see how qualifying goes, see how everything goes. I'm really hoping my driver, Josh Berry, he's pretty good on the short tracks. I'm hoping he can turn it around. We need to climb out of the hole he dug himself. Other than that, I know we got a lot of basketball action kicking off this weekend. So, I get it's going to be hard to tune in. But if you get a chance in between games or you're not interested in one of the games that might be on, flip over to one of the channels I mentioned and just tune in for a little bit. See what you think. It won't be as fun for you as it will be going to the track, but it's still pretty crazy to watch what these guys do with a car. Think about the big concrete barrier on the highway when you're doing construction zones. Just think about running, I don't know, 150 right through there and putting your car 2 inches off that concrete barrier. I ain't doing it. So, other than that, we do want to give a quick shout out. You can see all of our channels rolling down there at the bottom. WTP for Life, Level Up Sports 10, Parlay Poe. That's the Blitzburg podcast, Postgame 86 with his podcast. Lots of great basketball content coming out of Postgame. City League TV on Facebook and YouTube. One Take Zaya on there. He's got some pretty good content rolling over there as well. Of course, you're on my channel with SEC Sean right now. We're getting pretty in depth, getting pretty ready to kick off some hockey talk with the Blue Jackets. Actually sitting 1 point out of the playoffs right now, so we're going to keep pushing that narrative. We have our webpage, WTPSportsDudes.com, that has been created. You can go check it out. You can read a little bio about all of us that are hosts on this show, on these channels, and there's a place to answer questions that they've posted some questions, and there's a link in there to post your own questions or email them to us. So if you want a question you want about any sport, it doesn't matter. We'll answer it. We'll definitely get it squared away for you. And then you also have, what else is on that page? Just some episodes you can listen to. There's quite a bit of information about the guys, and then we're updating it as we go. This has only been up and running for, I don't know, maybe a month now, so still in the infancy stages, but we're getting it there. You heard me mention my Patreon account. There's also one for the WTP Sports Dudes, which also has a membership tier. Some of my content will be posted there for members only as well from the weekend upcoming when I'm doing all my NASCAR trip. So that's all on their Patreon account. If for some reason you can't tune in and watch the video, if you have access to a Spotify, you can find WTP Sports Dudes 2026 is a podcast you can search for. All these episodes are uploaded to Spotify as well. There's also mine, which is NASCAR Talks, as a podcast on Spotify. Won't get all the content, but it'll be all NASCAR content you want. That'll be uploaded to Spotify just as well. So there's numerous ways to catch up with us. We do monitor comments. If you drop comments on these videos, they'll be responded to, and we'll get it taken care of. Whatever, if it's a question, concern, something you want to see more of, something you want to see less of, we will definitely get to it for you. So y'all go like, subscribe, share this, hit the little notification bell. Doesn't cost anything to like, doesn't cost anything to subscribe. Just helps the channels grow. So if y'all mind to do that for us, we'll keep making the content y'all want. Just let us know what it is, and we'll take care of it. Other than that, everybody have a great evening, and we're going to jump off here. And I believe at 8 o'clock tonight, also, this is Wednesday, March 18th, at 8 p.m. tonight, you can tune in and you'll have our boy Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10 jumping on. With it being National Women's Month, he's doing a Women's Wednesday. I'm not sure exactly what he's got rolling tonight, but definitely tune in. He's always got some great content, great interview stuff on his page as well. He's done interviews with numerous people. He's a great interviewer. So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a good evening, and we're going to drop the checkered flag on this one, and we'll crank up with the green in a couple of days.